On today's show, we're going to look at our top storylines with the Senators reporting for training camp.
And we continue our organizational value rankings with 5 new players with a lot of 2024 draft picks.
All that plus a SensCentral Citizen. This is Locked On Sens.
I'm Jake Sanderson.
I'm Tim Stützle, and you're listening to the Locked On Senators podcast.
You're Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Ottawa Senators, the only daily podcast covering the Sens. On the outskirts of enemy territory, I'm Ross Levitan, alongside Brandon Piller up in the Blue Mountains. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase, like the Sens home opener on October 10th. You can follow the show on social media. We're at SensCentral on Twitter, LockedOn.Senators on Instagram. The show is free and available everywhere you get podcasts, including on YouTube. Today is Wednesday, September 18th, and Pilsy, we got to start today's show with some congratulations, spelt with a TK, as the Senators captain Brady Tkachuk welcomed his firstborn child, Ryder Keith Tkachuk, into the world on his birthday.
Love it. Great news for the Tkachuk family. Ross, I was saying to you, this seemed like the perfect opportunity to name him Brady Tkachuk II when he's born on the same day. But Ryder, great name, happy for the family, and stoked for that new dad strength that Brady's going to get.
And it seems like it's going to be all around the Senators locker room. Get the daycare ready because Nick Jensen just had his third kid last week. And we know that Claude Giroux is expecting his third child in the next little while. So new beginnings all around for the players individually and as a team here under a new coach. It's Steve Staios' first training camp, a part of this organization. And that to me is one of the biggest questions here. What is Steve Staios going to see with his two eyes as he's watching some competition? I know that after signing Nick Cousins, it feels like there's 12 forwards on one-way contracts. There's 7 defensemen on one-way contracts. I should say 6, but we expect Tyler Kleven to be in the mix there despite a two-way deal. Pilsy, what is your number one storyline as camp opens with on ice? Today is the media day, physicals, medicals. Tomorrow is on ice for the first time.
I think what I'm looking at here, Ross, is how are they going to use Carter Yakemchuk? Obviously, not the best rookie tournament, but he did score one of the few goals that Ottawa Senators players scored. So are they going to set him up with, like a Thomas Chabot, try to give him like a high-profile D partner to give him a taste of NHL life and see what he can do with a partner like that? How many games is he going to get? Or is it just going to be like, okay, let's just have you go through camp here, and then we're going to send you back to Calgary so that you can start the season off strong? So I'm interested to see how they're going to use Carter Yakemchuk moving forward.
I think it's going to be the latter, just because Travis Green is going to want to hit the ground running. If I was in his position, I would too. You don't have the affordability that playoff teams do where it's like, hey, we can ease into camp and find our groove as we approach 22 days from now where the Senators will start their season. I think you have to hit the ground with what you think is your top 6 at the NHL level at that point. So I don't think you're going to see like a Chabot Yakemchuk or a Sanderson Yakemchuk pair. Maybe they just keep them with Matthew Andonovski, the 2 junior kids together, at least for the first few days of camp. But I do expect Yakemchuk to get into at least one preseason game before he gets sent back. Just that little taste, to kind of have something to build off of. And I think going into Toronto, I know it's preseason, but still, it's such a big market. I think that could be a nice, hey, get in there. And then I almost want him to go back. Like, yeah, sure, you've learned all summer from Matt Nichols, but like, I want him to get the program and just go to junior. I almost want him out of sight, out of mind. I know he's the shiny new toy, but I just think that we knew he was a bit of a longer-term bet when they selected him at 7th. I don't want him to be put in situations where it could be detrimental to him moving forward 2, 3, 4 years. Remember when Chabot played his first regular season game? Different situations and a little bit further. Dash 2 in 7 minutes against Arizona. And they're like, maybe he's not ready. Let's send him back to junior. But Yakemchuk certainly will be a player to watch at this camp. I'm looking at another right shot defenseman too, as well as a left winger, 38-year-old Nikolai Kulemin and Kalen Addison, just because they're on PTOs. How much opportunity are they going to get? Is it just like, hey, we're doing you a favor, get you some reps, maybe view for other teams? Or are these guys going to make it through the first week or two of the season? So that's something that I'm watching on the peripherals. But of course, I'd be remiss not to say what everybody is top of mind. What's up with Josh Norris? Is he 100% healthy? Is he playing center? Who are his line mates? And can he sustain a full season of play? That last question won't be answered for a long time, but Pilsy, I think we're going to know right off the bat if he's with Drake Batherson and he's just in his regular spot on the top six. I think we're going to feel a lot better than we did last year where it was yellow jersey off the ice now. Where is Josh Norris each and every day? You could have made a sitcom out of it. Wouldn't have been comedic. It would have been really scary. He's an important piece on this team. So that's the biggest storyline for me is what Josh Norris are we going to see?
I've decided to be blindly optimistic to the Josh Norris thing just because we haven't had definite bad news or definite good news. So I'm going with the no news is good news. So I've just decided he's going to be perfectly healthy, Ross. He's going to be the second line center with Drake Batherson on his wing. Not sure who's going to be on the other wing, but for me, I've already decided that that's not an issue. As far as training camp storylines go, another one I'm interested to see, certainly less impactful than Josh Norris' situation, but who's going to have the inside track on the fourth line? Not just fourth line center, but the fourth line in general. You start looking at some of the forwards that were brought on, and there's a lot of guys that have opportunities to at least fight for that fourth line position. Like you're looking at Crooker.
That's called Cisse right there. Hey, Pilsy, look at us on YouTube. Make sure to like and subscribe.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. I was looking for a list, but this one is even better. Great work by our graphics department here. So Jan Yannick, Nick Cousins, Noah Gregor, Angus Crookshank. You got Halliday, Gaudette, Bourgault, McEwen, Ostapchuk. There's lots of guys that have opportunities here for that fourth line. So I think that's going to be a very interesting thing to watch.
Jan Yannick, a dark horse for me, is a guy who could make this team and make an impact as a fourth line center who's responsible defensively, physical, and wins draws. We know he has the respect of general manager Steve Stais when he played for him with the then Hamilton Bulldogs, but they've got a couple Bulldogs on each wing there with Nick Cousins and Noah Gregor, two guys who are straight line players and who like to get in the mix. It would just be a shame, though, for Angus Crookshank to be back in Belleville. I just think he had such a good showing in his second call-up last year. I think and we know that his motor is never ending. I think Crooker's going to do everything he can to be in that lineup, and we know that Zach McEwen brings that element that doesn't really exist elsewhere in this forward crew, where outside of Brady Tkachuk, who you don't want dropping the gloves 5-6 times a season, Zach McEwen might be your spot starter when you go into those more difficult matchups where the other guy's got a heavyweight. We're seeing the return of fighting, whether you like it or not. The fighting's up. Just go look at the rookie tournaments. There's like 100 fights in the weekend there. So Zach McEwen's going to be interesting to see, because we also know that if he ends up in Belleville, he's a first-line AHL skill guy. Like, this guy is unbelievable at the AHL level skill-wise. And the Sens just put out all the heights and weights, and he's the beefiest boy on the team, 240 pounds. So it's going to be hard moving a guy like that. But all jokes aside, I think what is in the top four lines here is probably what we're going to see, maybe outside of Jan Yannick. I think he's going to have to earn his spot. We know Nick Cousins is on record as saying he prefers the wing to center. You don't often see players say that, so I'm curious to see how the forwards end up here. Any other storylines up front, and then we'll throw up the decor real quick.
No, that's pretty much it. The only other thing I would be interested in, do we see a flip between Perron and Amadio? I like the idea of having Perron on that third line to give it a little bit of a boost and help secondary scoring. And we know Amadio in his days in Vegas is able to play up in a lineup with skilled players. So maybe you see those two flip. But other than that, I think this is what we're looking at.
Of course, we're curious to see Xavier Bourgault acquired in the offseason, former first-round pick. These are not the lines. Tomorrow on Locked On Senators, we will overreact to day one line combinations. It is an annual tradition here on Locked On Senators. On the back end, I think we covered quite a bit of it, but just so you can see it if you're watching on YouTube, Sanderson, Zub, Shabbat, Jensen, Clevin, JBD is how I'd start it. Travis Hamonic in the mix there. As my dark horse, kind of fourth lefty just to round out, like I don't think Jorian Donovan Sabrango, Tomas Amara are ready for that. No. Jeremy Davies, 25 years old. We talked about him yesterday in our value rankings. Just he has that kind of experience that I think he could be the top defenseman on the left side in Belleville, the role that was carried last year by Tyler Clevin. Another thing we're going to watch for, of course, is in between the pipes, Linus Ullmark and his debut with the Ottawa Senators, Anton Forsberg. We know Matt Sogard and Levi Merilainen are there, and Michael Simpson on that one-way AHL contract will also be at training camp. Pilsy, no surprise, nobody from rookie tournament who was just invited there has been invited to main camp.
Yeah, that's kind of what we expected, especially Ross. There wasn't exactly any outstanding performances.
However, it was unfortunate that a few Sens prospects weren't able to attend the rookie tournament. Of course, they're in the USHL right now. We've got a couple of them on our organizational value rankings a little later on in the show. So let us know in the comments, who are your top players to watch at training camp, and what are your overall top storylines? We're looking forward to seeing those in the comments on YouTube and on Twitter at SensCentral. And as we mentioned, we'll be back tomorrow with more from the CTC. Okay, on the other side, our SensCentral Citizen, and we'll wrap up today's show with our organizational value rankings. This is Locked On Senators, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Farm to Fork. Farm to Fork is a premium meat and seafood company servicing the Ottawa area as well as all of Ontario, Quebec, and our friends up in Nunavut. Farm to Fork has the best seafood and meats, and you always know that you're getting quality products, all natural, antibiotic and hormone free, and they are ethically raised. It's the perfect freezer stuffer because the meats are flash frozen after being hand cut at the butcher's table, which makes it that much fresher than at grocery stores where you don't even want to know how long that meat has just been sitting there. So get fresh, get Farm to Fork, and now you can go pick it up yourself, unless, of course, you want the delivery option. They've got a storefront at 1570 Carling, Unit A. It's between the Diamond Storage and the Corral building on Carling. So go check them out. You can also check them out online, Farm to Fork, the number 2, farm2forkdelivery.ca. You can get the filet mignon, buy one, get one free special. Wow. $229 for 28 fillets. Are you kidding me? And you can also take 10% off by using our promo code LOSP10. That's 10% off the best meats. Don't get caught unprepared. Get Farm to Fork. Taste the Farm to Fork difference. You will never go back to grocery store meats. Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Game Time is the ticketing app when we want tickets to any big event, whether it's comedy, theater, sports, and more. You can always get your tickets at Game Time. Game Time's got this new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff and only shows you incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to spend time searching through thousands of tickets. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. How about the seat views? Get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. You have to do that. You can also turn on the all-in pricing, and that will make sure there's no surprise fees at checkout. Who wants that? Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL, LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, we now welcome on this week's SensCentral Citizen. It's Matan Zelikovitz. You may not know him yet, but you certainly know his sound. He's the man who made the intro to the Locked On Senators podcast. Welcome to the show, man. Finally, we get to do this.
Finally, it's thanks so much for having me. It was so much fun making that song. Definitely had to get it out to you guys. So it's been sounding pretty good, I think.
what goes into making a track like that? I just told you I wanted something funky, and you nailed it.
Yeah, I definitely needed some inspiration. So listened to some music, picked up the guitar and kind of developed a little riff from there, and then recorded that and just added parts. So kind of just turned into this really cool thing, which is awesome. So
Yeah, we love it. As soon as we got it, Ross and I were bopping along to it, and we're like, "That's the one." So we appreciate that. Thank you for your service there for our newest intro song. But we got to get to the biggest question of the day: how did you become an Ottawa Senators fan?
Probably just through my dad when we moved to Ottawa. He's a home hockey guy, so he became a Sens fan, I guess, in '97 when we moved here. So yeah, ever since then, it's always been the Sens for me, never any other team. Growing up watching Alfie and Spezza and all those guys, Red and Chara. We had Hasek, I guess, like for 1 year or something.
Oh yeah,
so, yeah.
That's awesome. What's your first memory being in the Canadian Tire Center?
Oh boy, it was so long ago. But I do have a funny memory of like we used to always go get ice cream in the intermission, the second intermission, and I slipped, but I saved the ice cream.
Oh, that's all that matters, man. One of those. What's your go-to ice cream? I used to get the Haagen-Dazs whenever I could afford it. In there.
Don't remember. It was too long ago.
Okay,
but
we'll go
definitely
with the
chocolate
Haagen-Dazs then.
for sure.
The little the nuts in there. That's what it's all about. So old school memories, playoffs. If you remember that, there's this thing after the regular season that teams go to. They try to win the Stanley Cup.
The postseason, I believe they call it.
Yeah, I don't know. We haven't seen it in so long. But what's your favorite playoff memory of the Ottawa Senators?
I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but I do very much remember them losing in Game 7, 2017, third round. I got home in time to watch the overtime and saw the goal just sitting on the edge of my sofa and just like, no. So that's one. I did go to Game 6 actually with my sister in Ottawa here, so that was really cool. I think it was the same year I was in St. Louis pub or something, and that really nice Brassard pass from Carlson. I remember that. That was cool.
Was Game 6? You mentioned Game 6. I just want to pick up on that. Was that the loudest you've ever heard that rink? Because I mean, when Hoffman scored that goal in the third period, you could everyone could hear the ping of the crossbar, and then it was pandemonium.
It probably was the loudest too. I do have another memory, actually, not playoffs, but I was at that big game, the fight with like the goalie fights. I think it was Philly, years ago with the.
I think the one in Ottawa. I think you're thinking of the LA Kings one, where the goalie was at the bench. Was that it? Where Yanni Erme couldn't get his glove off.
I don't
remember with Felix Potvin. Well, what there was too. So the fight with Ray Emery was in Buffalo, but then they played the next game in Ottawa, and Brian McGrattan had been a scratch for the game when all hell broke loose. So there was all this anticipation of what's going to happen, and sure enough, him and Andrew Peters went at it right away.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure, wasn't it Philadelphia?
That was in Philly, though. I think was the brawl.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, it might have been the LA game.
Yeah. The LA one was so funny, man. We're a goalie friendly show. And with that, you always want to fight, right? When you're a goalie, things you can't do, score a goal, get in a fight, all that. And just seeing him struggle to get his glove off at the bench, and Chris Neal's like pulling it off. He's like, "You need that fist, buddy. I can tell you that." That's so good, man.
Yeah. I think also like that home opener I was at against Boston a couple years ago, that was loud. That was like being at a playoff game. That was awesome for sure. But yeah, been to so many games, it's hard to remember the loudest one, but that's like the most recent loudest for sure.
Billsy, my voice the next morning after that home opener against Boston.
Yeah, the Swayman chance really got to you. That's probably my
That's
favorite
funny.
home opener. A 7-5 win over the Bruins was absolutely crazy.
And full house too, first time since COVID, right? I think it
Yes.
was a reduced capacity for that Leafs one in 2022, 1 or 2, and then the next year was all hands on
Yeah,
deck.
it
21.
was a full house. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
it's-
it was that was,
Yeah.
and when Zub scored midway through, I think that was kind of the pièce de
yeah.
résistance that you needed there. Speaking of Zub and speaking of the team, training camp starts tomorrow. Matan, what's your number one storyline? What are you hoping to see out of this group through camp?
Oh boy. I just hope everyone stays healthy. You know, Norris has been a topic of conversation under that light for a while. Zub, Chabad, I mean, you know, hopefully if the guys can stay healthy through training camp and the season, then, you know, things happen, but that would be super important, of course. So it's a big one.
A question we're asking all of our SensCentral citizens is, who is your X Factor player coming up for this season? Now, that's the guy who, if he has a good season, the team is going to have great success. If he has a tough or below expectation season, it's going to crumble the whole team. So who's your X Factor player?
Okay, crumble the whole team. Well, I did start off thinking with Shane Pinto.
Okay.
You know, all the drama that was going on last season, and he only played half the season. I think he's coming in real hot right now with that fresh contract.
Yep.
The mustache too. He's only keeping it if he plays well.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if he's the right guy to say that if he doesn't, you know, play well or whatever, that it'll crumble the whole team. But you could maybe say that about the captain, Kachuk, but I don't see that happening. Maybe Stutzla. I do think that he's going to have a good season, or I hope so at least. And if he crumbles or something, I mean, maybe it would affect the team in the long run, but who knows, right?
No, Timmy's a good answer, because like one power play goal last year dropped in points drastically. If Norris and or Pinto get hurt, God forbid, and Timmy's not able to elevate his game, that could be a big issue. So I like Timmy. That's a good answer.
Well, he didn't pick
Yeah.
Timmy, pick Shane Pinto, which I appreciate too.
Who is your official pick?
Yeah, who's the pick? We're writing
you
this
thought
down.
about Pinto and said no, thought about Brady and said no, and then we landed on Timmy.
I
We
think
land
I'm
on
landing on Timmy just based on what you just said there. So yeah, no, I think Shane Pinto has you know, he kind of starts good and then tapers off a bit. I don't think that would affect the team that much, but I think Timmy for sure.
I like that you're going with Timmy Matan, because it's been very consistently Nick Jensen and Linus Allmark have been like the two answers. So Tim Stützle, I mean, there's so much reason to believe that he'll rebound and get to that 90. I think he's going to hit 100 points, but I've been burned before on that. I might have put a nice wager on that at FanDuel last year. It didn't hit, not even close. I think I had him at over 30 goals. I had any Tim Stützle prop I could find last year. I hammered the over, and it did not work out. But if you're talking as he's the X factor, so Matan, let me ask you this. Who do you put on his wings to start the season? Like, there was that line with Kachuk and Giroux that did really well, but Batherson plays well with Timmy. Like, who do you start with him at training camp?
Well, love to see Giroux and Kachuk on the sides there with Timmy. You raised a good point with Batherson. So, I mean,
then you got Batherson and Norris together too. They've got a bit of.
I mean, that's the great thing. You can kind of move those guys around. They're all going to play well. So
yeah,
that's a bonus.
Hope you're enjoying our chat with Matan. We'll get right back to it. But first, a word from our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook, and for great reason. With FanDuel, you can get in on the action. We also have something a little bit different for you today with FanDuel. Right now, through September 22nd, this upcoming weekend, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with a regular YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. Visit FanDuel.com and download America's #1 sportsbook.
You were just mentioning Allmark. It didn't even cross my mind to think about the goalies. I think he's going to be so good and so good for the team, and just like the confidence and everyone. Didn't even cross my mind for Allmark on that last question there.
I'm clipping that. That is so good. A Senators fan confident in the goaltending. Wow.
That's right.
Wow. Well, give me a hot take going into the season. That was one. If you want to just say, I'm confident in the Senators goaltending, but do you have any, whether it's a player hitting a milestone, the team hitting a milestone, what do you think the Senators can accomplish this season?
Well, I think for the most part, we all want them to make the playoffs, of course.
Yep.
I think a interesting hot take might be one of my newest favorite players, Jake Sanderson.
Yeah.
Would love to see him get some good numbers this year. I'm thinking 50 points, 60 points, maybe. Is that too much to think about?
I don't think so.
And
I think he's that good. Right? Like you see it with his all-around game, and that's usually the tough part for young defensemen is how are they going to be able to round out their game and be able to find different areas to make an impact, and then the scoring, usually if they're put in good situations, power play, whatever, they'll be able to produce. But Sanderson, man, like he's one of those guys, the more you watch him, the better he is, eh?
Oh yeah, he's so fun to watch. Yeah, new favorite Sens player for sure.
He's your number one. So if you're getting a new Sens jersey this year,
if I get another one, I want 85 on the back for sure.
So you've got a bit of a collection then. I see you're rocking the old. Is that Alfie or Carlson on the back?
Nope, that's Alfie.
Yeah,
that's 11. This is. Yep. I got this. It was like half price the summer when he went to Detroit. So when he signed or left Ottawa there. Yeah. And it was on sale. It's got the fight strap on the back. It's super legit. So had to pick that up. And
of course you did.
I've got this guy here as well. It's one of their oldest.
Let's see it. Oh, that's that. I need one of those so bad. He's pulling up for those listening. The old like Parliament jersey that was never worn in a game, but it was brought for the campaign to bring the Senators back. That is as vintage as it gets. Hold on to that very tightly, or else someone like me might steal it from you.
For sure. I also have, I don't know what it's called. It's like, do you remember the black with the gold on the bottom?
The black Senegov. Pilsey's got that in his background on the in the frame. That's a beautiful. You think that they should bring that one back?
Maybe like with the gold stripes and things, but not the, with the new logo and stuff. That'd be a cool third jersey.
Like the 2D logo, the one that they have on their home and away, but with that template in the back.
Yeah, like kind of a modified version. Would be super cool. That was also my first Sens jersey. Ooh. I was looking for it this morning before this, and I can't find it. I really want to display that for you there.
Oh man, that's so nice. Like I honestly think that would be a cool way to marry the past and the present, where it's like, you can pay respects to it, but let's change it. Let's make it new a little bit at the same time. So I like that. Out of all the new additions this summer, Matan, obviously Linus Ullmark in a class of his own. But out of David Perron, Michael Amadio, Nick Jensen, Noah Gregor, even Nick Cousins, out of those players, who do you think is going to make the most impact on the team?
I think Perron's going to come in and be a real good veteran presence for the boys. I really like that signing. I thought it was kind of interesting too, with all that drama that happened in that one game against Detroit, I guess.
Yep.
When he like smacked Zub for no reason, but it's whatever happens on the ice stays on the ice, and that was in the past. So I think he's going to come in and kind of help Giroux a little bit, like on the veteran side, and provide some good leadership. And that I think Perron for sure.
Yeah, Perron's good. The thing with him too is he's so good at protecting the puck, and I find Ottawa last year they were giving it away sometimes a little bit too easily in the offensive zone. Not to call out a player, but that's what we do on the show. Matthew Joseph, so much speed, but sometimes in the offensive zone, you just kind of get lost out there a little bit. So I think having a Matteo and these little heavier players, I think could help. I don't
Yeah.
want to go full goon squad, but I think adding a little weight and a little bit of puck protection ability is going to go a long way. And the Senators are hoping that the coaching staff goes a long way to changing the starts. November has been so bad the last number of years. It gets dark early, it's freezing cold, and the Senators are piling up losses.
Yes,
Do you have confidence that there's something that can change this year that can allow them to not be out of it by the end of November?
The new ownership coming in and all that, they've had their time to do what they want to do. It's unfortunate with last summer, they couldn't really get in until, what was it, like the beginning of training camp or something?
A year ago tomorrow is when he officially got the team.
So training camp day,
Yeah.
I guess.
So everything was already done, right? All the off season. They had already given Korpisalo, what, $20 million?
Yeah, it's crazy. I think they're gonna have a different identity this year. And the ownership, like I was saying, they've had time to get their staff in place. They made some interesting signings, which I like. So who knows what's gonna happen, but we all hope that they maintain some kind of consistency especially through the first few months.
So my final question for you, Matan, we really appreciate you doing this, and it's great to put a face to the name of the intro music that we have every single day on the show. And Pilsy just had an emergency, had to run, but I got you covered here with the final question. You're going to be able to see lots of Pilsy at the home opener. We're all going to be up together in 321. Can't wait for that, because you're 1-0 at home openers, at least 1-0. We got to rewind the clock a little further. Okay.
Yes.
And Pilsy and I are 3-0 since COVID. So we're bringing some winning pedigree into that arena, and we're hoping that translates onto the ice. But when you're out talking Sens with maybe your friends who aren't Senators fans, how do you sell the fact that the Senators are going to be a contending team, if you believe that yourself?
Well, selling the fact that they will be a winning team. Well, I think that Allmark signing was huge. Getting that good goaltending in there brings so much confidence to the team. And he seems like he's very stable, and he knows how to kind of keep the same level throughout, his gameplay and stuff. So I'm gonna go with that for my answer for that. That's an interesting question, though. I haven't really thought about that one.
We give very detailed, serious answers on this show. For me, it's the fact that 3 guys on the team, important players, just had babies. And we know there's a new baby bump where players play well after they have their kid. So Brady Tkachuk, Nick Jensen, and Claude Giroux having kids is going to be my reason for optimism for the Ottawa Senators. Hey, we gotta cling on to anything we can right now, because as I meant, the worst part too, Matan, is that Novembers are even worse when we just mentioned they win the home opener. They go on these little streaks. They won those 3 games in a row at home last year. We were at the Tampa game together too. And then the Washington game on the Wednesday, they won 6-1. Josh Norris comes back, has 2 goals. I tweeted out the Sens are going to be a problem for the entire NHL. And sure enough, a week later, they're out of it already.
Yeah.
So it's
jumping the gun a little early there.
I know. Hey, I would trade. I'm going to be the bigger man here. I would trade a home opener win for a successful November.
Oh, 100%. Easy decision. No doubt.
Awesome. Well, Matan, this has been great, man. We'll do this again down the road. Excited to see you in person in a couple weeks. Get to the CTC, the pilgrimage, everything that goes along with getting to the home opener. And really look forward to seeing you there. And we really appreciate you for taking the time and effort and getting us a banger intro that we love so much. So appreciate you for doing this. You look good, and we're looking forward to seeing you soon.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Ross, for having me, and send my thanks over to Pilsy as well.
All right. Stick taps to Matan for joining us. Really fun conversation with him. Pilsy, let's get right back to our organizational value rankings. And there is a list in the comments. If you want to follow along, we're doing as many as we can day after day after day. And we've got the full list running there. You can click and see it at your own leisure. Coming in at number 42, a high riser Up 14 spots from last year, it's left shot defenseman Theo Wahlberg.
Yeah, Theo Wahlberg has been one of those prospects that goes under the radar, but shouldn't. As a 6'5", 203-pound defenseman, 6th-round pick in the 2022 draft. Last year in Ohio State, in 38 games, 2 goals, 19 assists for 21 points. And that's pretty good numbers for a defenseman in college, especially, Ross, when you compare it to his previous season in the USHL. In 60 games, he had 22 points. So in Math Guide, 22 less games in a tougher league going from USHL to NCAA. He only had 1 less point. So that's great progression for Wahlberg.
And not only that, but we talked to Stephen Halliday, his teammate at Ohio State last year, and he was just super impressed, not only at the transition, but the mobility for his size. So standing 6'5", 203, you're expecting, those big prototype defensemen. The Sens have so many, but he's super mobile and he's got a great first pass. So I think him going into his sophomore year at Ohio State, he'll take on more responsibility, and it's been a longer road for him as a 2022 pick and just playing his freshman year this past season. But patience, I feel like, will pay off with Theo Wahlberg. I think at the very least, he'll be a top 4 AHL defenseman, but certainly has pro ability, and I'm excited to see what's next. Of course, he's unsigned, but up 14 spots, was 56 last year and 59 right after being drafted in 2022. All right, coming in at number 41, we're on a run of the 2024 draft right now, including 3 4th-round picks that all got rave reviews from the scouting community. It starts with number 41, Lucas Ellinas. We just saw him at rookie tournament. He will be at main camp as well. He's a breakout candidate in the Ontario Hockey League this season with the Kitchener Rangers. Was just given a letter on his jersey. He'll be the alternate captain on Matthew Andonovsky's team. And Pilsy, the playoffs certainly gave a hint at what could come next.
Yeah, talk about a rookie season for Lucas Ellinas with the Kitchener Sens. 67 games, 16 goals, 17 assists, 33 points. But like you mentioned, the playoffs is where he shined. In 10 playoff games, 5 goals, 3 assists, 8 points in 10 playoff games. And I think he's well deserving of a letter in Kitchener. He's going to join Matthew Andonovsky as part of that leadership group there. And he's poised to have a big season, Ross. I love this pick by the Sens in the 4th round.
I love it too. And not only that, Pills, he's so nice. He grew up an Ottawa Senators fan in the heart of enemy territory. So we like that. We're really going to be rooting for Ellinas. He's got some piss and vinegar in his game too. He's not going to back down from anyone. Got in a fight in the rookie tournament. And to me, he's going to add an element that the Senators are going to need down the road. So excited to see Lucas Ellinas take another step forward this year in Kitchener and hopefully get some reps at center. It would be nice, I think, to kind of learn. And we always know it's easier to move to wing than to center. He played a bunch of wing at the rookie tournament. The last game, they moved him to center. So I hope that he plays in the middle in Kitchener, but wherever he is, you're going to notice him as a breakout candidate for them. Coming in at number 40, it's Blake Montgomery. Just an awesome skater. Stands 6'4", 181 pounds, and he turned some heads at development camp. He was one of the more noticeable young players on the ice there. 43 points in 58 games last year in Lincoln, and he's taking the extra year of the USHL, and he's 19 years old. So much like Theo Wahlberg, he'll be a 20-year-old freshman in college next season.
Yeah, and I think it's good that he's taking another year in the USHL, especially the Lincoln Stars. That seems to be a good program from what we've seen and heard. And I think another year of that, he's going to be able to probably get close to a point per game pace, Ross, if he continues developing. 43 points in 58 games last year. So I like this move by Montgomery, and this is yet another player in the 4th round. When we started looking into scouting reports and what online scouts thought of him, a lot of great praise for the value that the Sens got with this pick.
A play-driving power winger with speed to burn, according to the Elite Prospects 2024 NHL Draft Guide. When you're big and powerful skater, that's a sick combination, and he's got some sweet hands in there, as shown by the 22 goals he scored last season in Lincoln. All right, coming in at number 39, it's Javon Moore, the third of the electric 4th round in the 2024 draft, and you talk about electric. Imagine being a Minnetonka U.S. high school hockey fan last year. What a treat watching this 6'4", 203-pound forward just tear apart that league.
Yeah, he had a lot of fun playing in that high school league in
You
28
don't
games.
say.
26 goals, 27 assists for 53 points. That's pretty awesome. He did get a cup of coffee, or a shot of espresso, I should say, in the USHL. 3 games, 1 assist. It seems likely that he'll be returning to Sioux Falls and then going to University of Minnesota after. Ross, these Minnesota hockey kids, it's inevitable that they go to University of Minnesota. They can't help themselves. I feel like, honestly, for a lot of them, the dream is to play University of Minnesota hockey, and whatever happens after is all just bonus. So Javon Moore, look out for this guy.
Oh, he's going to be one of those guys who I think not this year, but next year bursts onto the scene when he's heading to the University of Minnesota, home state school. We know they've pumped out a ton of NHL talent. I'm really curious to see what's next for Javon Moore, because you look at elite prospects, they called him the second best prospect in the Sens pipeline behind Carter Yakemchuk. In their draft profile, they say transitionally, Moore's game is full of large area handling and separation, a crafty player who uses delays to open room and disrupt gaps. And he gets in positions to shoot quite often. Javon Moore certainly could be a guy who rockets up these rankings next year. He comes in at 39. And shout out to Pesky Sickos on Twitter. Unreal photos from Dev Camp. So appreciate him. Pesky Sickos. Make sure you're following him. He's got great clips too. All right, coming in at number 38, it's Gabriel Eliasson. I'm surprised we found a photo to fit in that frame. 6'7", 216 pounds. And Pilsy, he just turned 18 last week.
Yeah, Gabriel Eliasson, we've been seeing a lot of him recently in the rookie tournament. Now he's going to take part in the Sens training camp as well. Last year, he spent the majority of his time with the J20 National League in HV71 in 36 games, 1 goal, 5 assists. Where his numbers really pop, though, Ross, is the PIMs, 103 of them. It's going to be interesting to see where he ends up playing this season. As we know, typically his involvement with the Senators means he is excluded himself from playing in the USHL or NCAA, where he was slated to join University of Michigan. So it doesn't seem like that's going to happen, at least anytime soon.
No, I doubt it. I think he's going to probably take the OHL route. Don't be surprised if he ends up with the Barrie Colts, but time will tell. Now, imports can't be traded until September 20-something. So nothing.
I think it's the 26th.
Okay, nothing can be made official until then. Good call. So let's see what happens with Gabriel Eliasson. We've got plenty of Eliasson content if you want to learn more about him, including an interview with him earlier this summer after being selected. Models his game after Eric Chernak and after Nicholas Haig in Vegas. So those are 2 players that if you know how they play, you'll know how Gabriel Eliasson wants to end his development curve. All right, Pilsy, in lieu of final thoughts, we're going to play a little trivia to end off today's show.
Hit me.
I went through all 32 training camp rosters to look for hashtag Sens abroad, and I'm going to stump you on where certain players are. Let's work our way up to it. Zach Sanford.
Oh, he's still in the league? I'm going to say New York Islanders.
Chicago.
Okay.
Magnus Hellberg, your guy.
Pittsburgh.
No, Dallas. He's going to have some sick year there.
Oh, that's sweet. Hell yeah.
Yep. We've got, which one surprised me? Oh, do you know where Boris Kachuk ended up?
Oh, I did see this.
It's a PTO.
Minnesota?
Anaheim.
Okay.
You're doing great.
Yeah, this is not good for me.
Eric Brandstrom.
He is signed by the Colorado Avalanche.
Yes, he is.
Nice try.
Dylan Gambrell.
Ooh, I want to say Utah.
Columbus.
Okay.
Anthony Duclair.
New York Islanders signed a nice little ticket in free agency and had to cut off his hair.
Logan Brown. PTO.
Still with Tampa?
He went back to Tampa, yes.
Yep.
Yes, he did. And finally,
Okay, I'm getting a couple here.
you are getting a couple. That's good. That's good. Why don't we end up with Patrick Brown?
Oh, Patty Brown. Wow.
The Sens missing piece on their playoff journey.
San Jose.
No, he's still with Boston. And finally, actually, because it's so funny, Detroit's becoming like little Ottawa. How many Sens abroad can you name on the Detroit Red Wings?
Cam Talbot. Vladimir Tarasenko.
Yep.
Alex DeBrincat.
3. 2 more.
That's all I got.
Tyler Mott.
Oh.
And they signed
Austin Watson.
to a PTO. So there you go. There's your little rehashing of where certain Sens abroad have moved all over the place. Tomorrow, we will be overreacting to line 1. I hope not, because it's pretty easy to make a good first line on
The
this team.
premiere of the lines.
We will be overreacting to day 1 line combinations right here. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, do all that. We really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed today's show. Thanks to Matan for joining us. This intro is a banger. We appreciate him writing that for us. For Brandon Piller, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been another edition of the Locked On Senators podcast. Your team every day.